But we'll go ahead and get started. So, just to introduce myself, I am John May. I am the engagement manager. I have been with Webgility for 5 years, just about, and I am sort of the face and voice of Webgility, whether I like that or not. But I do all of our webinars. I do YouTube videos. I help our teams internally on the sales and the support side as well. And I am joined by Purit. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. Thank you, John. My name is Prerit. I'm the implementation manager at Webgility. I've been working here for more than 3 years now, and it has been a great experience so far. Have onboarded almost more than 300 clients, and yeah, it feels really good to be on the webinar with John and everyone here. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, sort of laid this out in the last webinar as well. I don't think any of you were there, but we are going to have someone from the implementation team or the support team directly on these webinars going forward. So it'll swap. We'll see some new faces here and there. And yeah, these guys work within WebGility every single day, so they're the best people to have on these webinars, in my opinion. Much more knowledgeable than myself in a lot of areas. So yeah, excited to dig in. Before we get started, I see Nora S had a question. The charge the post as buyers recharge on Amazon doesn't get posted to QuickBooks. That may be something that we need to have the support team reach out for directly. When it comes to answering questions directly on your subscription or like errors that you might be having, it could be really hard for us to dig into that on the call directly, mostly because usually it's some configuration that just needs to be looked at. So we can maybe tackle that in the Q&A. If not, we'll get with you after the call and make sure that we get you the answers you need, though. So um, just to talk about what we're going to cover today. Again, I mentioned this is going to be a really straightforward webinar. It shouldn't take the full 45 minutes even. Of course, if you guys have questions and want to stay on for the full 45 minutes, we are totally here for that. But the overall topic shouldn't take too long. It's pretty straightforward. So we'll cover first just the basics of settlements, why we recommend using WebGility for pulling in your settlements, and then some of the, I guess, sort of pitfalls that Amazon has for online sellers and accountant teams. So after that, we'll cover sort of in-app footage of Amazon settlements and the chart of accounts in QuickBooks and how they sort of work together. The one thing I want to sort of disclaim here is that it can be really hard for us at Webgility to demo things live in Amazon, mostly because they don't allow us to have test accounts. There's no sandbox environment for us to go and play around in like we would on something like Shopify, where it's very easy to just set up like a free trial account so we can post things here and there. Amazon, it's not that simple, and that leads us to sort of a problem where we can't just like live demo things as we go. However, we do have screenshots, so we'll be able to at least show you in an environment that we have had in the past, how things work. So Pruitt's going to go through a bunch of scenarios and settings inside of WebGility and QuickBooks to kind of show you what it looks like and how we recommend setting things up. And then we'll end, as always, with the Q&A. If you have any questions, even outside of what we talked about today, then that's kind of the time that you can ask those. Again, feel free to ask them throughout the call, but there is that dedicated section at the end. All right, so I wanted to sort of set the or lay the groundwork for the settlement conversation by just kind of explaining for anybody that maybe is new to Amazon or hasn't, started pulling in their settlement reports yet, what typically the problems are that settlement reports have and why they tend to be so complicated. I would personally say, as somebody who used to work in implementation and who has been so close to the product for a while now, that settlement reports are probably the biggest, I guess, we get the most questions about settlement reports. We get the most, I guess, complaints about the complexity of settlement reports. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to settlement reports from Amazon, and typically it all stems from a couple different things, right? So, settlement reports are Amazon's way of bundling up the expenses that are accrued over, a given time period, and then sort of deducting their fees, less the profits, and kind of giving you that summary essentially. So, the biggest problem that I'll lay out is that generally there's a mismatch in timing, right? Between when you would typically close your books or do your reconciliation. Usually, accountant teams, bookkeepers, business owners, you're working on a timeline that is like a calendar, right? You're working on every 2 weeks at the end of the week or every month at the end of the month. Amazon doesn't do that, right? They're not going to hold it for you to line up with your reconciliation process. It's automated based off of the account. So that tends to make things complicated just right from the jump, in that you are, waiting on Amazon to have this report sent to you every 15 days, and that doesn't typically line up with your general reconciliation process. So if you don't adjust your process for Amazon, it can be kind of confusing. It can lead to some issues and you know complexity, as it were. So outside of settlement reports, though, I think Amazon has a number of things that make it a more complex environment. Obviously, I mentioned the settlement reports specifically. The fees and expenses in those settlement reports, there's a lot of them, right? There's a lot of stuff that if you are just starting selling on Amazon or haven't sold on Amazon before, it's a lot to take in. There's a lot of miscellaneous things. It's to use the term nickel and dimey is I think accurate. Again, the timing between your payouts and sales, and when you typically do your reconciliation, is a big issue. Sales tax is a confusing thing for a lot of people because most people are used to sort of either setting up their own sales tax or um, managing it themselves from a position of pulling it in and then posting it to QuickBooks and QuickBooks handling the jurisdictions. There's a lot of ways that people look at sales tax, and I think having Amazon fully remit for you is a good thing. It means that you don't have to necessarily worry about it from a lot of perspectives, but it can be confusing. I think it was more confusing when Amazon didn't fully remit for every jurisdiction. Luckily, now they remit for everywhere in the US, as far as I'm aware. But that didn't used to be the case, right? You used to have to kind of keep track of the areas that you met Nexus in outside of, where Amazon remit. The last couple things here, the higher volume of orders that you have, the more confusing it's going to be. I don't think that's exclusive to Amazon, but it is always a factor. The more data that you're pulling in, the more complex it can be, especially if you're doing manual work. And this applies to all of these points. If you're doing anything manually, um, the manual data entry process is prone to human error, as always. So the more data that you have, the more chance that there's going to be a problem. And then all of that coupled with the sort of lack of visibility that Amazon really provides you with the settlement reports, and just the way that they operate in general. I think that's a typical hurdle for Amazon sellers. All right, so to get to the main crux of it, Webgility solves, I would say, all of these issues as long as things are set up in a proper way per your workflow. I think just to run through these, I'm sure that you guys are aware of, the main value propositions of Webgility. As a Webgility customer, I'm sure you know what we think the ideal situation is for you. I think that the biggest issue is getting to the point where you feel comfortable with it. So, I think the biggest thing to talk about with Webgility is that we don't automate the reconciliation process for you fully, right? Reconciliation should always be a manual process at the end of the day. It's something that I say a lot when we do these webinars, is that reconciliation is that final check, that final human touch where you're saying, hey, everything looks great, everything's balanced, we're good to go. We can get you to the finish line, but we'll never be the ones to cross the finish line for you, or we don't recommend doing that because it can be a lot, it can cause a lot of issues. We'll map your payouts, fees, and returns. So everything that Amazon pulls in those settlement reports, we're able to map to the correct accounts for you, which ensures that when that payout comes through, all those transactions that you posted, um, the deposits match, so that you don't have to do a lot of extra work yourself. Obviously, Amazon remits for you, but we can pull those sales tax numbers in and sort of segment them away from everything else, keep it easy for you. Obviously, reducing the data entry, the manual errors, that's something that we pride ourselves on. And then getting all of this kind of lumped in one place is the biggest thing. I think having your settlement reports pull in with all the fees, your sales tax, all of your order, your transaction detail with the inventory, having all of that in one place means that you have that visibility, you have everything centralized, and you don't have to worry about going to, three different places to make sure that you're understanding where your money's at and where where your revenue is coming in and where you're losing money. Um, and one thing I always like to touch on is the difference in workflows from business to business. Everybody sort of has their own way of doing things. I know that if you're an accountant or if you're in the bookkeeping space, gap compliance is very talked about, very prevalent. Obviously, there's going to be sort of a standard practice for doing a lot of things, but outside of that standard practice, there's all these little knobs, all these little levers, and that can make things more complicated for you. So just be aware that when it comes to Webgility, there's not always just one way of doing things. We do have sort of like a general approach to how we set up Amazon accounts, which we'll cover again in that next webinar. But if you're having issues, if you ever have questions, if you feel like something's not working properly for you, the best thing that you can do is get a session with our implementation team or reach out to our support team and we can look at your configuration and see what we can do to make sure that things are pulling through how they should work for your business. Because again, it's different for everybody. And the last thing I want to call out here before I hand it to Parit, because I know you guys are probably sick of me talking at this point, is going to be that Webgility is highly rated amongst all these top app stores. So if you're concerned about the data integrity or the security of your data or how things are being pushed into QuickBooks, take it from us, take it from our other customers. You can feel safe doing it as long as things are set up properly. There is a proper way to do this to make sure that you're not losing data. The great thing is anything that's done in Webgility can be undone. It's not a final process that, cooks your books if you click the wrong button. We're able to unpost things, unsync things if we need to. The biggest thing is that sort of that trial and error window where we can set things up properly for you, make sure that you're started off on the right foot. So with that all being said, I'd like to hand it to Parit to kind of talk through the process of using Webgility for these Amazon settlement reports and Amazon in general.
Thank you, John. Well said. It's a really good thing that you have covered most of the things here today. So, just a quick catch up on what we are covering today. We will be covering the introduction, the summary, and the journal entry posting, automated account recreation by Webgility, setting up preferred accounting methods, understanding the summary posting structured in QuickBooks Online, reviewing and editing or accounting mapping, posting the settlement reports in a summary mode. And then this work is obviously easier than the individual posting. So Webgility offers you with a couple of methods to post. One is the transactional entry, that is posting every order individually to your QuickBooks as sales receipts or invoices. And the other one is a summary posting. So if you are a Webgility customer, when you log in at the bottom left corner, you would see connections options right in front of Amazon. Just go to preferences. You can choose your preferred accounting method, either as summary or as transactional posting, the way you like. Summary means the journal entry, transactional means posting every order as single transaction. Now, to talk about the transactional posting, yes, it provides you the detailed tracking of all the things that are in the order, but sometimes it can overload your QuickBooks with larger transaction volumes. Whereas a journal entry or a summary are always consolidated. It consolidates into a single summarized entry for a specific day or period. It also reduces the volume of your entries on QuickBooks, keeping it fast and efficient. And it offers an easy reconciliation with your bank deposit. So that's how summary posting is there. Let's click on the next slide. So when you go to the account mapping, you can choose what region or what marketplace are you working on currently. So Webgility gives you all the options, whether it's amazon.ca, .mx, .br, any non-Amazon, any other sales channel that you have here. You can choose it from the drop down and then move forward with the mapping of your accounts. Let's click on next. So here you would see that on the left-hand side, it clearly mentions what kind of account you need to map it to. If it's a refund given, what it would be on the other hand of your QuickBooks. So on your QuickBooks, there would be already chart of accounts that you would have created you would be clicking on the drop down and mapping it to the respective chart of account of your QuickBooks. If you find it difficult to map it, and if you don't know what's there, let's suppose it's a refund given or a discount given, we have a little question mark that's right beside that option. Let's click on the next slide. So it gives you a clear view of what that term says. And then you can click on the drop down and map the account. So it's different for different options here. So every check mark or every question mark has an explanation of what that term means. Let's go to the next slide and check. There you go. So if it's a shipping expense, you can see the sum of the total of the shipping expense the seller paid to the process shipment related to these orders. So similarly, you can map your expenses. Since it would be a debit account, you can choose a debit account as an expense and map it to the respective account. Let's click on the next slide. Now, let's suppose you do not have that option created on QuickBooks. You can do it right away from Webgility. So click on the plus sign where it says create new. It will give you another pop-up where it says create account. Which type of account do you want to create, whether it's an income account, expense account, or other current liabilities? You can choose on the radio button, enter the account details, and click on OK. As soon as you do that, your account gets created on QuickBooks and gets mapped to that specific account right here. So it's an
Yeah,
easy
and
way of, sorry, yeah.
oh, go ahead.
So it's an easy way of mapping your accounts through Webgility and also creating those startup accounts within your QuickBooks.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say that we have a lot of conversations about like the difference between clearing accounts and using like holding accounts. Uh, and we generally recommend for, any stores that you create, not just an Amazon store, but for any type of transactional data that you're pulling in, whether it be fees or the orders themselves or like discounts, anything like that, having them mapped to their own clearing account or holding account is super beneficial because it segments that data. So you're not having to sort of guess where that transactional data is going. So creating clearing accounts is a really good use for this as well, outside of just like mapping or creating new income or expense accounts. If you have multiple stores, good example is creating a clearing account for your Amazon account and for your Shopify account and eBay and whatever other stores you have, just to keep that data as segmented as possible. So I just wanted to add that.
Yep. And if you have added any new account on your QuickBooks and you want to locate that account from the drop down, you can click on the refresh QuickBooks account from the top right corner and the account would pop up. So you need to map it in the same drop down field and do not forget to hit on the bottom left save. So once you have mapped all the accounts, click on save to save those settings and then it will take you to the next page. So here's the next page. Yes, in the deposits and fees, you would be picking up one deposit account that's on the very top, and you would be selecting Amazon clearing accounts, as Sean mentioned. We do recommend to take Amazon clearing accounts because all the data comes and gets deposited to Amazon clearing as deposit. Regarding fees, we have different options. Like you can either go ahead and select the fee option right from one particular option and click on Amazon expenses or create an Amazon expense account on your QuickBooks and map it to that dedicated account. We know that Amazon releases tons of fees. It releases it bi-weekly. And even if you want to bifurcate it granularly, like under order fees, there would be another options that would be coming up in the next slide. So these are your bifurcation of the order fees, like authorized fees, commissions. If you want them to set separately, Webgility does give you an option of doing that. So if you have set different chart of accounts for different fees, you can map them. Or if you want all the fees go into one single account, you can map it directly to your order fees. So that's the next thing. Now, if you also want to enable your price cost or product cost sync, you can enable the toggle key from the top. You can choose your currency from the very top of the drop down where it says USD, can be any other currency as well. You can choose your respective inventory asset account and cost of goods sold account and click on save to save the settings. When you click on the summary option at the top left corner on the left-hand panel, you would go to settlements. Here you would be seeing all your settlements getting automatically downloaded from Amazon within Webgility, because with Webgility Online, since it's a cloud version, it downloads the things automatically from Amazon. We can also set the things to post them automatically to your QuickBooks when we run automation. But here is the thing. Once you see a settlement here, you can click on any of the settlement period. Let's say it's from August 13th, 2025 to August 27th, 2025. We'll click on it. And on the next slide, we'll see a detail option that how the settlement would look like. On the top, we would have the settlement ID, would have those debits and credits listed, and both of them would match. If you want to click on post, you can click on post and post the settlement to QuickBooks. But here's the next thing. Let's suppose you want to map it to a different account. Let's suppose you want to map these to a different account altogether. You can also click on that pen icon that's highlighted there and map it to a different chart of account right from this screen as well. So once the settlement gets posted to your QuickBooks as a journal entry, here is how you would be seeing it on your QuickBooks. This is a snapshot of your QuickBooks Online, wherein you would see a journal entry by date. Again, on the main screen, you would be able to see the expenses, the incomes, right on the debit and the credit side, and both of them would match. The best part of Webgility is it says it was synced by Webgility in the memo field by also giving you the settlement ID at the bottom left corner. So just to let you know, these things can be automated. So when I say automated, that means Webgility would be automatically downloading your settlement reports, would be automatically posting it to your QuickBooks when you turn on automation within Webgility.
Yeah, and I wanted to include this as a sort of real life example because I know some of this can be sort of abstract if we're not showing you it in real time. But you take your example settlement period from August 1st to August 14th, and your first step, I know it before Pruitt went into his examples or his screenshots. There was sort of a recommended workflow, and the workflow is really simple, right? If everything is set up correctly, your workflow should be you use Webgility just normally, right? You're downloading your orders every time an order is put in, and you're posting that transactional data directly into QuickBooks. Whether that's a summary or whether it's individual transactional data is up to you, whatever your workflow suggests. But the idea is that you're using Webgility every day to download those orders, or however often you're downloading those orders in bulk or whatever, and then posting them directly to QuickBooks. And then every 15 days, you're getting that settlement report. And because you've already synced all of your order data, all that's left is those fees and additional debits and credits to be able to match up and make that deposit account balance, essentially. So once that settlement report comes in, you do your bank transfer, and the clearing account should zero out at that point. Again, saying it like this makes it sound way more straightforward than it ends up being a lot of times, because especially when you're setting up your Amazon settlement reports for the first time or your Amazon account for the first time in WebGility, there can again be those little those levers and knobs that you need to turn to be able to make things work properly for you. Sometimes we're not pulling in every single transaction, or there was a refund posted that shouldn't have been. Maybe there was a double posting or something like that, and that anything like that will contribute to an error inside of the settlement reports. So everything needs to match exactly, or the settlement report won't post for obvious reasons, right? We wouldn't want to post a settlement report and not tell you that something doesn't match, because then it's going to be way harder for you to find what is going wrong. So when you're running into errors, that just means that we need to continue tweaking things and making sure that orders are pulling properly from your store so that it does match. And then we can, as Pruitt said, use that final automation process so that you don't even have to go in and download the settlement report. You don't have to go and click all the buttons to make sure that it posts. We just download it like we do your normal orders, and automatically post that to QuickBooks for you, just like the orders. So this is a good example of when things go perfectly. A lot of times, especially for the first couple times that you're doing it, it does not go perfectly. We would love to say that every time you use Webgility for the first time, things just boot right up. But with all those workflows that we talked about, things can be pretty complicated. So it's just a bit of trial and error to make sure things work properly. All right. This is the dedicated section for the Q&A. If you guys have questions, I know Nora, you did mention that a fee that is being posted through Amazon is not getting posted to QuickBooks. That sounds specifically like we need to map something a little more directly. So I'll get with the support team and we can have somebody reach out and schedule a call with you to make sure that we're setting things up correctly. If you don't have time for a call, usually we can do something through email as well, but call is definitely better so we can maybe, hop on and see it live. But yeah, if you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. Otherwise, we can end the webinar early. You guys get time back in your Wednesday. Like I mentioned, this has been recorded. We send it out usually the next day with the recording and any other details that I can include. Um, the last webinar that we did, the same webinar for desktop, I included a sort of a link to our help docs that explains the recommended settings for Amazon accounts. So I'll try to include that as well. I know the last one might have been specific to WebGility Desktop, so as long as we have an online version of the same article, I'll include that. The next webinar that I talked about, where we're going to go into Amazon settings and making sure that Amazon is set up properly with WebGility, will be in about a month. We're doing these every other week, and they switch off between desktop and online, so we'll cover the same topic over 2 weeks. So the next one would be October 1st as of right now. You'll get an email kind of letting you know, just like you did for this one. But yeah, I think this is again a good way to sort of set the stage for the larger conversation. Um, I think we're good then. Not a lot of questions today, and that is okay. These webinars, like I said, they're regular. So if even if the topic doesn't necessarily pique your interest, if it's something that you already know a lot about, or maybe doesn't apply to your current workflow, and you just want to attend and ask questions and chat with the team, that's what we're here for. We love to, like I said, sort of create a community where you guys can talk with each other, share ideas with each other. So we really encourage you to use the chat function, talk with other sellers, talk with us, and let us know what you'd like to see, topics that you'd like to see us cover. I think all those things are super important because we do these for you. We want to make sure that you guys are getting the most out of Webgility because I know, like I mentioned, if things aren't set up properly, it can get really confusing. Errors can be really frustrating. And that's obviously not why we're in business. We're here to make things easier for you, not to make them harder. So let us know what issues you're running into, and we're more than happy to hop on a call and help or, give you the right information. So all right. Well, this was a super easy one. I appreciate you guys joining today. Like I said, I'll give you time back in your presumably busy Wednesday. I know it was a short week this week, so every second counts. But I will send you guys the follow-up email probably tomorrow. Just have to cut it down and upload it to YouTube and get it sent out. But if anybody has any questions at all on any of these webinars, maybe you forgot to ask something, just email me directly. My name is John. My email is john.may@webgility.com. I want to know how you can calculate the fees and how to minimize the expenses by adjusting the settings. Um, that is a question that I think we'll need to hop on and look at your configuration for as well, Zhao. I mean, calculating the fees is not done on the Webgility side. We pull in whatever Amazon gives us, right? So to kind of further expand on this, WebGility generally doesn't create any data. We are simply like a bridge between 2 points. So the 2 points in question being Amazon and QuickBooks, right? So we will pull whatever data exists already on Amazon, whether that's through your orders or through your settlement report, and that's typically done through the order ID, right? We see an order ID inside of Amazon, we pull that in. We see a settlement report ID, and we pull that in. And so their calculations are what's calculating the fees. As far as like pulling in those expenses, again, it's just from the settlement report itself. But the way that we match those things together is by your mapping of those clearing accounts. So like what or the just the account mapping in general, not necessarily clearing accounts, but Pruitt kind of displayed the account mapping where you're setting your expense accounts and you're mapping it to each individual fee. As long as that's done correctly, that's how the matching happens. So if you're not mapping them to the right area or you don't have those expense accounts set up, that's where you'll run into issues. I think I'm answering your question, but
Yep.
adjusting the settings we can absolutely do with you. If you have additional questions, like I said, I can have somebody reach out and just make sure everything's good to go for your workflow. All right. Well, again, appreciate you guys joining today. You guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you guys on the next one.